Welcome to Critical Conditions, the Mind of Nature. Your session is now live. So maybe y'all can start with a one-line introduction from everyone in the room, and then y'all can begin with your conversation.
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Start.
So, I'm Simrit. I'm a farmer. I consult and design other farms now. And I run a model farm of my own, and I teach permaculture, and I write about food, and I supply avocados to restaurants and markets in the cities. You go.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm Ramika. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I don't know much about farming, but I've been thinking about toying with the idea of sustainable farming for quite some time now. Haven't been able to do anything so far, but hopefully I'll have some takeaway from this session, and perhaps will motivate me to get into it finally.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Harsha. I'm an artist by practice, and I work with sculpture and performance art. My recent project has been to move into a 1-acre permaculture farm here in the outskirts of Hyderabad, and I've been practicing for the last 6 months. And the title of this of this talk of the conference is actually quite adapt for my choice, because I make permaculture as a lifestyle rather than anything else. So that's the reason I was so excited to be part of this.
Yeah, I've been working in permaculture and as a farmer, like on the land. But what I realize is that when people come to learn at the courses, what they take away is like something way more than just learning how to plant plants. Um, and when people ask me questions, they're always asking me about like how I made this life, or how I can just be a farmer, literally. So I feel like permaculture actually kind of condenses into your life in a way that it becomes part of your lifestyle, and the decisions that you make could be based on those principles, and then you can use permaculture for so much more than just learning how to farm. So I think that's a really important part. Also, because now majority of the population lives in urban centers. So I do think that where that the work really needs to happen is in the cities. So I don't necessarily think that everyone should go out and start becoming a farmer. That's not what, everyone's made to do. But there are things that we could do within this system or lifestyle, or the prominent lifestyle of the planet, working within an industrial capitalist society, where we can still kind of create a path or a niche within that where you can live a ethical lifestyle, I feel, which is happier than the one that's the mainstream one. Was that a lot?
No, actually not. But I think that's a very good takeaway, because the reason why I joined this conference was for the fact that since I moved to Goa very recently, 6 months ago, and I've been seeing that how much land people have like in their property, even if you take it on a rental basis.
Yep.
It's pretty much of no use. No one's really doing anything, or you have like ornamental plants around. So I've been toying with the idea of how about starting like a community garden where I provide them gardening as a service, but I get to grow what I want to grow on their land, and sort of give it back to the community of what's grown from that piece of land, and maybe have like a bunch of people who can contribute their land for this cause, because it's not like a money making business. It's just like a pilot project to see how this community building happens in this scenario. And the reason when I got to know about it from Shahzad, that there is like this one conference going on for this, and I think why not include permaculture principles? Like, if I'm starting from the scratch, may as well do it the right way, and don't have like those mistakes I regret later, or like spoil somebody else's land in a way that they can't use it later. Perhaps just keep those
No,
principles.
Definitely, like because I think the most important principle of permaculture is to observe before you do anything. So and that works in every place in
Yeah.
life, like to just spend time really researching, observing, and looking at what's happening around you before you start changing things. And,
Yeah.
maybe it's fine the way it is, or, maybe over a period of time you'll see in your neighbors, maybe those neighbors are into it, but then people say something and they're not actually,
Yeah.
so you have to really spend time observing people and before you start something. And so then the best way to start is like in permaculture, where like the best place to start is outside your kitchen door. So it can be in an apartment, it can be in a house in Goa with the tiniest amount of land outside, and just start growing three herbs, like dhania, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just outside. And then so by you starting slowly, your neighbors see what you're doing, and then it happens in a more organic way, so
Yeah.
doing things slow and steady. And so you also learning from your mistakes. Maybe you've never grown something in that environment, so you don't know how things will work. So planting like a big garden just in the first shot, that's not going to work, because
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
takes
Yeah.
time to understand the land and seasons, and what people will eat and not eat. Maybe you'll make a community garden, but nobody likes to eat bengal. So you got like, what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Yeah.
totally understand that. I have, in fact, very recently started gardening in my own garden now, just to see how difficult it is to keep one little sapling alive, in which
Exactly.
I must say that I have sort of failed to some extent.
Yeah,
but I think every day is a learning lesson with gardening. Some day it's overwatering, some day it's underwatering, some day it's
yeah.
something that just don't understand. The
But
other
then
day,
one
one of
day
the
you'll
furry
get it.
yeah, the furry guys will come and eat all the leaves that you planted yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so observing and waiting, going slow,
Yeah.
that's the basic tenets
Yeah.
which work in everything, whether you're starting a business or a garden.
True. And
Yeah,
the initial part of rejection from the other farmers, I think for me being in a village setting, having a lot of farmers with a lot of experience, and they're like this city guy, like you don't know nothing, they're like,
yeah, I mean,
and
obviously
that
that
for me,
happened to me even more, because I was, when I bought the land, I was not married, so I was like a single woman, like from the city, you
yeah,
know, and I was like, we have to dig these swales, and we have to, and they all thought I was crazy. What's wrong with you? You
yeah,
got so
yeah,
much
yeah.
money to spend, madam. And this, getting me the books from the agricultural universities, like this is how it's supposed to be done. And I mean, it was very difficult, because it is very difficult, and you can't force your opinion on them. And you know
Hmm.
so the
Yeah.
best way to do it is to, again, slow and steady. So when there was a drought in Tamil Nadu a few years ago, the only farm in my village which was still had green grass was mine. And then all those farmers that were making fun of me, they needed their cows to graze. And so I went to the guy who made fun of me the most and told him, come and bring your cows to my farm.
For grazing,
Let them
yeah,
eat some grass,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And that's the best way that you can do it,
Hmm.
just slow and steady. And by them, yeah, you forcing your opinion will never work, because
True,
they're so
true.
rigid. And it's so sad
Yeah,
that our traditional knowledge is lost so much that like
yeah.
now a city person has to come to show them that, like, this
No,
is
but
how
I
you
think it's,
farm.
yeah, like they have the knowledge and they keep telling me that their father used to do all the mulching, they used to do all of these things, but just that they need to create certain produce to sell it in the market, and they need
Yeah,
that rotation constantly, which is absolutely fine. I said, of course, and it makes absolute sense that they're doing and they're practicing that manner because that's how the market demands them to do that.
but exactly. So that's what I was saying, that there's a way to break out of that system also. Like I got all the farmers around me they have avocado trees. Almost every villager has an avocado tree in their house, around their house, but they don't eat them and they don't know how to use it. And I was like, they're worth so much money in the cities. So we just bypassed the mandi guys. They used to sell it for 50 rupees a kg to the mandi. And because of the knowledge that I have, because I'm living on the edge of that urban rural thing, I know about like restaurants in Bangalore and Bombay that are dying for avocados, you know. So sending it directly from the farmers to the restaurants, not even to a market in Bombay, to the restaurant, to the chef, and creating a relationship between the farmers and the chef where the farmers know that now their value is 150, you know. I get them 150 a kg and we sell it in Bombay for 200, and you know, I make a smaller profit. I'm the middleman now, but because I make a smaller profit, I don't have to worry that there's no upkeep. You know, I don't have to worry that the farmer is going to go behind my back or something because I'm paying him such a good price, and I know the chef is also getting a great price. So you can, you know, and so I have less work to do, but I still keep getting that money, and it's like a side hustle. So while before you start going into community gardening or farming, or you know, you have that land, you need to have money. You need to have a way to support yourself and obtain a yield is a really important permaculture principle, which is like from the beginning find a way that you can start generating a yield income or food or something, you know, even knowledge, so that there's some worth for you in it. It's not that you're just keep giving. You know, you need to support yourself as well. You need to be sustainable. So for the longest time I had the farm, but I didn't really move there. I would just go there and plant, say, trees before the monsoon, and then go continue my life in the city, come back, you know, because it's a slow and steady thing. So there's no hurry that you have to move immediately, or you could move, put up tents and, you know, give it as a campsite. Just find ways to make it sustain, even if you feel like you don't need the money, just so that that space is sustainable on its own as a unit.
Yeah.
That keeps it more resilient. Even the community gardens, you know, you shouldn't make it like, yeah, you don't have to make it profit money wise, but there should be something that the community gets out of it besides just food. Maybe just that, you know, have a pizza lunch, I don't know, where everybody comes together, make it a fun thing also rather than just a.
No, it has to be a money thing is what I have in mind. If I'm going to leave my law practice, I need to make money in an alternate way.
Yeah.
which
And don't put all
can-
your eggs in one basket, you know, like also diversity, like watching nature and how in a forest there's so many different plants that coexist together and they're stronger because they're living together, you know. It's not just acres of one crop like what we do now. It's completely disconnected from how nature is. And so we also are like multifaceted beings. We're not just farmers or just lawyers, you know, we're like lawyers and farmers and musicians and, you know, lovers and all kinds of things. So even diversify our incomes according to what we're into. So don't just be like, I'm going to leave my law firm and now I'm going to do community gardening and that's everything, you know. You got to keep yourself resilient or protected so that you have, you know, you could maybe do some side lawyer consultancy on the side or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I understand.
And that makes absolute sense, at least in this age.
Yes, because you never know. And now Corona and yeah.
Yeah, ask me about it. The art market collapsed.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know when it's going to recover, right? So, yeah.
So
Grow
that's
my
why
own
we need
food.
to, grow your own food, man. That's
Not just that, I'm kind of thinking of, I'm starting a co-op workshop, teaching other people to build their own homes with mud.
exactly.
So
And
workshops
then
is one thing that I'm thinking about.
take the workshop to your farm, get this workshop to
Yeah.
build your building, you know. The first one can be built by them.
Yeah.
Use the resources. I mean, catch and store energy, that's another one of permaculture. And it's just like straight after Corona, so many people were getting in touch with me all the time about like permaculture and what is it, and I want to be a farmer, and you know, and I just thought the minute the flight started, I decided to do a course because that's also an energy, you know, it's like a momentum that exists. I just want to use it at that time at its maximum potential to make the most difference. So I just came back from Assam. I taught a course over there, which was which really made me realize how much of a change Corona has had on people's thinking and the kind of lives they want to lead, and that work-life balance, how disconnected it was, and how much people realize its importance post-Corona, I guess.
So what would be like, sorry, Harsh, you were saying something?
Go ahead, Romika,
Okay.
go ahead.
So what would be like, some of the basic things, like, because I'm just starting out now, and before I jump into community gardening space and I'm starting with my own garden right now, what would be like the few things that one has to keep in mind? Because it does seem to me like, as far as the landscaping of this place is concerned, there is like the whole way the water transfers. You don't have to like go and stand and water each plant individually because it does roll down to some extent. So it seems like that the landscaping has been done keeping those in mind. But because I lack the knowledge, so I want to understand from you that when you say like permaculture as a lifestyle, what would be like the few things that are very easy to inculcate in one's life to implement those principles, that does not become like, oh shit, I have to do it, but more like, okay, it's become like a habit so quickly.
You mean in terms of growing a garden?
Yeah.
So if you want to start with a garden, like I said, start small, start outside your kitchen door, start with something that you enjoy eating. Do research, like just, we spend there's my permaculture teacher says to do 100 hours of research for every like one plant that you plant, so that you know that you're doing the exact right thing, so it's like a lot of work. But I mean, he was not talking about planting a sapling, he was talking about like doing a whole farm. But anyway, do research. Yeah, you like onions, just pick up some from the market. You don't have to spend money buying onion seeds or organic onion seeds. Just get an onion and the roots will be there. Put it in, start getting greens. It's cutting the greens and you eating it in your salad. That's the first step. The first step is to enjoy what it brings to you. And once you enjoy that, it stops being about like the work aspect,
Yeah.
So yeah, like maybe some chili that you love eating.
I just
And
killed a
then
plant. Negligence.
you can't kill a chili plant. They're so easy. Do research. Full sun is. Did you plant it in a sunny spot? What did you
It
plant
had
it
full
next
sun.
to?
I thought maybe it died because it got too much sun. It was a Thai chili.
So you start by putting your plants in pots so that you can move them around.
I did all of that with the chili. I did all of that with a little potter. I kept it in all different spots. I thought maybe too much sun, maybe too little sun, maybe this,
So
maybe
maybe you
that.
moved it too much. Maybe you moved it too much. Maybe you're giving them too much attention. Maybe they don't need that much attention. Like.
Yeah, sometimes they grow best on themselves. But I think composting you should try. I think you're living in a
Of
small
course,
space.
composting, mulching. There's so many different forms of compost. Do a one that suits you. Like you can have long-term ones. You can have ones that you change every 4 days. So and the best thing is like your community. There are permaculturists all around you. There's so many in Goa. We have the
Yeah.
internet. Just start meeting the people around you. There are so many the oldest permaculturist is in Hyderabad at Raranya Farms.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go to the people around you, introduce yourself as someone who wants to start doing it, and you just become part of the community and you get so much information and seeds and help and people wanting to come and a whole community. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Which is
get
also
started with it.
which is also a yield. That's
Yeah.
also something that adds to your life and to your lifestyle, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's how
Yes.
it worked for me, visiting other farms here in Hyderabad, Aranya and Madhuredi, and all these other people who've been active, and then joining the groups, then kind of taking saplings from their farm. And now I keep giving the saplings back to them.
Exactly.
People
Always
who come to
passing it
my
on.
farm, they're like, yeah. So it's all these small cuttings and saplings and seeds, and it's slowly starting to kind of grow a network of people that you can fall back on, and then they also fall back on you, because then you
Yeah.
have something, and the newcomers then kind of ask you for
Yeah,
saplings.
yeah.
It's a nice exchange of things, and then you feel good that the same worms are affecting their farm as well.
Yeah, and someone
Especially
else,
during monsoon.
and then someone else, someone in your community might have come up with a solution or tried something and it worked, and you pass that information on. Like open source, like sharing everything that you have. That's such an important part of permaculture, to not have that competition thing, but realize that when you're a community, you can help each other more. Yeah. Like I have a couple of permaculturist friends in Goa. I live in Goa now because during the lockdown, and my daughter started school, so I haven't been to the farm in like 9 months. But like I don't take any jobs in Goa because I have so many friends of mine who are permaculturists, and I'm like, I'm not stepping on your toes. Like if someone asks me to do it, I just pass it on to them. And if they get a job which is outside of Goa, they pass it on to me. So you just create a system where we're here to help each other out.
A healthy
Yeah,
community. Yeah.
yeah. Goa is really great for that.
Yeah, Goa has a very high sense of community, which is not there elsewhere. Like I've spent most of my life in Bombay, and I feel that, I mean, you don't even know your neighbor. It's as simple as that in Bombay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about how important it is for permaculture to start being practiced in the cities. And I think Corona helped with
No,
that.
I want to ask, how are you managing the farm?
Yeah, so because I have someone who's like been dying to take care of a farm, and I was like, okay, go take care of my farm, like just finished a permaculture course and he wanted to live on one. I said, okay. So, win-win, and it's free on both sides. Both of us are happy. And yeah, that's what happens. It's that win-win thing that you're looking for in permaculture all the time. Like, how can my waste become someone else's wealth, and someone else's waste become my wealth, and I can keep close looping that, so that everyone is happy. Yeah. Everyone
But how
should
much
get.
work is it? I just want to, because for 1 acre, I feel sometimes a little stressed.
But that's what I mean. You have to cut it into pieces, into things to do. You need to have a timeline. Like in the beginning, like I said, just only focus on your trees. Just plant your trees before monsoon. You don't have to be there. Sitting and watching a tree grow is like, why aren't you growing? So you got to leave, do your own thing. Do something else. Get some way to get like, art and farming together, like a land art residency. So many things you can do, you know, in the meantime. So it's like a timeline thing. Like, so I first planted my nitrogen fixers, just put sticks in. It's also cheap. I didn't spend any money doing it. Just walked around the village and cut the Gliricidia. I don't know if you know it. It'll grow very, Gliricidia, or in Hyderabad, Moringa will be really good.
Moringa, Sesbania, and Gliricidia.
Yeah, and then Moringa, you can quickly make a yield. I mean, you can make money off that. It's like trending right now. Catch that energy, powder it, and sell it. So, and then while that's happening, while the trees are growing, you could, like you said, do a workshop, get a tent there. Like in permaculture, where like the first thing you should do on your farm is to build a pizza oven.
Yeah.
And then just have your neighbors over every Sunday. Yeah.
True.
Then you can keep
Cob oven
learning from them.
Cob oven is my next project, though.
Yeah, just having a place where everyone can relax and you feel like
yeah.
going there and enjoying it,
Yeah.
with your friends. The most important thing on a farm is the farmer's footprint. So it's just that you got to be there. That's all. But not even all the time. Like, don't forget about it. But yeah. So slowly, and then you can think about building a house. Like it took me 5 years to build a house. It's just finished. So that's slow and steady,
Yeah.
You don't have to do everything at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the slower you take, the stronger it'll be. So don't be worried about that. And if you just want to go there, just take a tent and go.
No, we're starting the cobballs already. So yeah, so it'll be
Oh
like a
wow.
weekend workshop. Yeah, yeah. From now on, we started the
Nice.
first set of like 1 feet of wall. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, that is also cob is again like permaculture. It takes its own sweet time
Own
because it has to
time
dry
and it's
and then you
just,
have to do like layer and then
yeah.
plaster it. The things.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you
But where
doing
did
it on your own?
with friends making it like a workshop?
Nice.
Like people come,
Okay.
learn, pay like a small
And
fee,
you
and then
designed it yourself and stuff.
yes, 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 completely.
Nice.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I learned it first from Tanal Hand Club in
Oh,
Tiruvannamalai.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
know.
that's where it's all started for me. Then I went to Orwell. Then Krishna
Ah,
Mackenzie happened.
yeah.
Then
Okay,
permaculture. Then
cool.
Bangalore
Ah, right.
LSUC. Then Aranya. So then it kind of slowly
Okay,
like
okay.
moved on. It took like I think like a sweet 1.5 2 years to kind of really get the vibe of what I want to do. The philosophy,
Absolutely.
all
That's
these
so
things, and then that kind
important.
of yeah.
Yeah. Like having a vision and just putting all the, business stuff, I guess. Like the best permaculture farms have like Excel sheets and stuff. I don't, but that's really the kind of,
Yeah, they have like a whole
you'll
timeline
be
for the like
great. Yeah, I
planting.
have I have timelines and stuff, but there's so many factors to keep abreast of. And if you really want to make money, or if you really want to do something, like you gotta have so many different avenues of things happening. So
I'm not
yeah,
great at that as an
I
artist.
know multitasking.
I can do
Gardening is
stuff, but
all about multitasking. It's not just like it's like research and maths and aesthetics and observation and physical
yeah.
labor and everything.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it so satisfying, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah. I like to have that feeling that you just, what you've done. It's like a physical thing. You had like 20 trees to plant today, and I planted those 20 trees. And now when I sleep at night, I have no stress. I don't have to think about anything about what my boss is going to say or what tomorrow, what's going to happen, and, nothing. And you work hard and then you just pass out. So
Yeah.
it's like a really good lifestyle.
And do you have a lot of cattle or the other animals that you
No, I,
grow
I only
yourself in the farm?
borrow from my neighbors. I have a big
Right.
wildlife problem. I'm bordering a forest.
Mm.
Yeah, so I get the cats and elephants, bison, boar, lots of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So,
how
I
does
mean,
it work in terms of having your neighbors' cattle come and just graze? Is that
yeah, I have
you provide
specific
them graze
areas
or
where
is
they
it
can just come in and graze because some of my trees are still babies. So I need them to grow tall enough for the cows not to affect them.
right? That's what I was thinking because for
So
me
only
it's like the
once you
orchard
have a,
is.
yeah, only when
Mm.
you have a fully established orchard, like cows are the last thing that you bring into your farm. Yeah, and in the
Right, right.
meantime, just borrow from your neighbors, cow dung, cow
But cotton
urine.
is also like super expensive because it's all farmers around.
Is
Like,
it?
like you have to buy in tractors and
Yeah, but
like
then that's all you need.
yeah, that's all I need. But then
But
I was
no,
looking
yeah,
at a
you'll have to
better
come up with
relation.
some kind of dung. Maybe look at some other forms. Maybe there's a
Mm,
chicken or poultry farm,
yeah. But then they're
goats.
saying chicken coop could be little too hot for like plants. They
No, no,
keep
you
giving
have
me
to compost
different
it. You have to
advices even
compost the
online.
chicken first. All the dung, whatever
And
manure
then
should go into your compost, broken down and then spread. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, cow dung that way is easy because you can directly do it.
directly, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, but the thing with chicken, the smaller the animal, the more powerful the manure is. So you don't need that much.
Ah,
Yeah,
right,
so you
right.
can just get a
I
sack
can
of
maybe mix in.
chicken shit for the whole farm.
Hmm.
So you need
Makes sense.
less. Yeah, or goats also.
Hmm. Yeah, goats. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also something that's available.
My friend has done a scene where the neighbor's goats shed. He's made a slide so that the goat should come into his farm from his neighbor's farm.
It's like a ramp on which it can. That's beautiful. Super smart.
Yeah, they were complaining we're so smelly and all. They give it to me. They just made a thing. So that's a great solution.
Yeah.
See
It only
what's
works in
around you.
Kodaikanal though, I think, because
No,
of
they
the
all
elevation,
yeah,
right?
you have
But
no
here in a
elevation.
plain land, you don't have that kind of an
I know,
advantage.
I know, I know. But yeah, all kinds of. I mean, if you have a poultry farm, except they do so much injection and
Yeah. There is actually one, but then I was a little skeptical because they might like ask for like a sum and all that because they're like, I
oh
didn't want to kind of get into the
no,
commercial
but
aspects of it.
no, yeah,
Promote
yeah.
it a little more. Yeah. Maybe when I don't need that much as well. So maybe they're like, they normally have a huge bunch and like a lorry comes in, like a truck comes in and takes the whole thing away. Like, no, they don't prefer giving it to smaller people, like, in smaller chunks. So that's what I've
But
heard. I've never gone in.
and also eventually you'll start needing lesser and lesser manure. It's in the beginning you need more,
So,
but once you, if you're living there, you have your own chicken, the kitchen scraps and composting, and you could also start with your own chicken, small, 2, 3.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you want to tell me your community garden idea, Romika? Because I don't feel like I fully understood what it was.
It is not fully made in my head either.
Okay.
Yes. It's just it's a very undeveloped idea right now, which I just came across because the amount of people's places that I visited in Goa, I realized everyone has a huge
Yes.
space outside their house which is not utilized.
So the idea is
Or
to
people keep
utilize.
asking in like in these groups about where to find a gardener because they want to come and like put some ornamental plants over there, and I'm always thinking why waste that space into that, like any green is beautiful green. If that green is feeding you also, may as well convert it. And I spoke to
Yeah,
a few people here who seem to be interested, like we don't want to do it. If you want to take the headache of doing it, then be my guest. So they all seem to be willing to give their space out. Nobody wants to do the work. So I
That's an
want to offer this
amazing
as a
idea.
service. Yeah, so why not offer it as a service, like where whatever is grown over there, I sell it in the market, and you keep like X percentage of it. Like I don't care. Like that's
yeah,
your
sure.
fee for using your land and doing everything, and take some produce from there also. But just like utilize this thing, because in Goa, what you realize is like for everything, if I'm living in this area in Moira, I have to go back to Mapsa to buy anything and everything. There's
Yeah,
nothing here. But
yeah.
if like 20% of people in 1 kilometer radius who have space like this can utilize their space for that,
True.
I think this whole area, like this whole like 25 whatever, like 10-kilometer area radius will be covered with food. Like nobody needs to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
somewhere else to buy food. We'll be
So
self-sustainable
in
that way.
in Moira, I made 2 gardens for my friends, and I taught them how to do this 4-day compost, and they both have 3 of them because even Tanya is there. I can put you in touch with them so you can already get seeds from them and get how to make this super fast compost, and you know then you can see from them what already grows really well from their gardens. Use that
Yeah,
information for yourself.
yeah, that'll be great actually if you can put me in touch with them.
Yeah, yeah, I'll do it. It'll be awesome for people. I think it's a great idea because that space does get wasted.
It does, and nobody really knows. This is wheat growing. Like outside my house, also there's a whole land which is empty, and this is wheat growing. During the monsoon, it was nice and pretty. As soon as the monsoon ended, it's all like brown grass outside your
But do
house.
you have some space around your house and you're growing stuff?
I do have, but it's pretty much like it's just like it's filled with plants around already. Like it has like very little empty space. It has like 2 spots where I want to grow a kitchen garden, but I started with a very tiny space to try. Out of 6 saplings I bought, one is dead.
Yeah.
So I'm taking it slow
But you
right
see, that's
now.
why also don't buy saplings. Don't buy saplings. You don't need to do that stuff. You don't need to spend money. Just go to the market, you know, let your 1 tomato rot. Once it's rotted, take out the seeds, dry them, and use them. And you can do that for everything. And even dhania, mint, onion, potato, all that you can put back. Now the garlic will start growing the shoot, and
Hmm.
you can just put that shoot in. And
Yeah.
just get stuff from the market. Don't spend money to like get that stuff, because that stuff's also grown in Goa, or at least you hope it is. So the climate is the same. You're not buying some sapling which is created in a protected environment in a nursery, and then you bring it out. It's not going to survive. So bring something that's already hardy.
Yeah, I tried that with
Yeah, just take
potatoes.
things
I
from
just
the
grew
market.
like
I
a bunch
always
of
tell
potatoes,
people.
and the potato plant grew over here. That's the day. That's the first time I realized that
Yeah.
there is no soil. There's nothing that I've put, and the potato plants is flourishing. Maybe I should grow more.
Wow. Yeah. No, but still fix your soil.
No, totally.
Yeah, so that's
So
it.
how
It's a
did
very
permaculture happen for you?
not a developed idea. That's all that I have right now. I was hoping to understand some more about the principles of permaculture, so I can start to get thinking on what can be implemented in the community garden
Just
space.
just get them. They're like 12 permaculture principles. Just Google it. They'll come, and see how you can use those principles within your business model, and not just on how you plant plants. Because in permaculture, we also care about who we sell the produce to, how it gets bought, how far away does it go,
Yeah.
you know, and then so also just to keep it within the community instead of sending it somewhere else. That could also be part of the thing. Like all the families that have given their gardens, maybe they could meet once a week. It could be like a market thing for the rest of the community. Just a Moira market, you could start your own. Yeah.
Yeah. No, those are good ideas. I mean, that's something in those lines is what I have in mind. But like I said, just keep throwing more ideas. I'm absorbing them.
Yeah. You were asking me how I started permaculture.
Yes.
I mean, I was already started farming before I got into permaculture. I used to work in public relations in Bombay. I'm working for Johnson and Johnson. It's like a heavy pharmaceutical company, and I was in a meeting where they were basically bribing the doctors, and I had to write some article in a newspaper about their eye contact solution and how it apparently makes your eyes worse. It increases your power by some percentage. But, I had to cover that up and write something else or something like this. And it was a really horrible experience, honestly. And then I came home and my sister uses that contact lens solution. I was like, don't use it. It's not good for you. Your power is going to go up. And she was like, you're working for them. And so I was like, I'm leaving the city. It's too much. So I kind of left Bombay. I went to a boarding school in South India, Rishi Valley. It's kind of an
Yeah.
alternative boarding school
Yeah.
based on
My
Jiddu Krishna.
sister went there. Younger
Your
sister.
sister went to Rishi Valley?
The Valley School though, Bangalore.
The Valley School in Bangalore. Cool.
The Valley
Yeah, so
School,
the
yeah.
sister school. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of, I think, had a big impression on me, and I just felt like I wasn't ready for the city. So I started learning biodynamic farming, which is farming according to the moon
Yeah.
in Kerala. And then I bought my own farm. My grandmom gave me her inheritance money, and I got two other friends to pitch in, and we bought land in Kodi. And after I bought the land, I was like, now I don't know what to do. And there were no permaculture courses. Yeah, so I went to Thailand to do my first course because, like, biodynamic farming, organic farming, natural farming, Jeevan Amrit, like all the different styles of growing plants, those are all just ways on how to grow it. But there's nothing really to tell you where to put what, how to design a big space or even a small space, taking in consideration wind, sunlight, shadow, microclimates, um, rainfall, how many inches you get, flood marks, 100-year flood marks. There's like once in 100 years there's a flood. what's that mark of that flood, build above it, don't build your house inside that, or all kinds of things. And you take all those things into consideration. Where does the wildlife come from? Where you need to put a fence, or even in a small veggie garden around a house, where does the cat come from? You need to put a fence there. Some houses you don't need to fence. Some will have lots of birds and you need to put netting on top to make sure your veggies don't get eaten. Some you don't. And some houses will have more sun, some houses will have less sun. So the less sun you can grow your herbs. In the part with the sun you can grow your veggies. So within your land also you have microclimates, big expanses of rock. They radiate heat. That's giving you a lot of heat. So you can grow your chilies there, but not like broccoli or whatever, I don't know. So understanding all those things and then deciding where to put what, never never build your house right on the top of the hill, even though it's like the best view, but it's like so susceptible to the winds and rain and having, being right on top. It's kind of dangerous. You want to keep protecting yourself, keep creating backups. Like I have fire that comes from the forest. So I've grown a fire belt, like a bunch of trees in mulberry, which are more water based, so they don't catch fire and they kind of stop a fire. But I also have a tank in case it passes, so I can use water. So don't just rely on one thing. We keep having backups to our protection thing. And that's the same thing with your income. Like your one business can have multiple incomes. That's also protecting yourself from one avenue not working out. So just trying to foresee the worst case scenario and then plan for that, And that's, yeah. So permaculture is necessary for that kind of thing, which I was not thinking in that way before. I was more like, mulching and composting and that kind of stuff. But this is as important. Yeah.
A lot of these things come naturally sometimes if you look at like local villages as well, like the zone 0 is so natural for them because it's like they want to keep their animals, cattle close by, the goats close by, the hens close by, and the kitchen waste go to these goats and the hens. I'm like, this is perfect, this is already there. Why these guys have, like, the green revolution messed the whole thing up? Otherwise people were
And they
perfect.
call it the green revolution and they call it a chemical revolution. How can you call it that? It's like
that, right.
such a PR scam.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's just
like,
common sense, honestly. Permaculture is not new.
yeah,
thing.
it's,
It's completely common sense.
Yeah.
And common sense is not that common.
Yeah, that is also well said.
Yeah. Don't have any. I mean, I think that both of you should stay in touch with me, and I'll try to connect you guys with people I know
Please.
around you that could help, or you could help them.
Sure.
That would be nice.
Sure. That sounds good. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah,
I'll
totally.
connect you also. Yeah.
All right. That's our time.
Cool.
Thank you guys for joining
Thanks
in.
for joining,
This
guys.
conversation was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Romika and Harsha, you guys can leave the room. And
Sure.
I
Bye.
have a few questions.
Bye. Thanks.
I will be in touch with
Thanks.
you and send me your.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks.
Bye.
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 Bye, guys.
Okay, now what should
All
I
right.
do?
No. So now we have a few questions for you
Okay.
from the audience. The first one is, can permaculture work at the scale of cities?
Yes, definitely. And that's where the maximum amount of work needs to happen. Whatever small space that you have can be used. And like I said, not just in terms of planting plants, but also the way that we do business or the way that we live our lives, like what we invest in, what we spend our money on, buy from the local market rather than from Amazon, keep the money circulating within your community rather than sending it out. Talk to your neighbors, community building. Yeah. So I think the cities are really where permaculture needs to be put to use right now. Social permaculture, financial permaculture. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. All right. The next one is, can you share projects or institutions in India where I can learn permaculture?
Yeah. So one of our permaculture elders, or someone who's been practicing permaculture for at least 20 years, we call them elders. Her name is Clea Chadmal, CleaChabmal, and she has a farm in Goa, in Valpoi. She has several courses. I would say she's the best teacher that we have in India right now. Very experienced, and she works a lot from grassroots levels with rural development programs and some state governments also. She would be the best, I think, in this country right now.
All right. All right. Your next question is, does permaculture also apply in rural areas, or do you think those are more closer to this philosophy anyway?
I mean, traditional Indian rural culture is basically permaculture, but that kind of lifestyle is very rare nowadays. Unfortunately, with the Green Revolution, most farmers in India today do chemical farming and are forced to have monocropping so that they have enough produce for the mandi systems to sell wholesale. So the most amount, it's difficult within a rural setting to apply permaculture, but it's necessary, at least in terms of stopping the intense amount of chemical fertilizer and pesticides that is used in rural India today. They've forgotten their own traditional farming techniques, so maybe permaculture is necessary a little bit.
All right. Thanks, Simrit. Thank you very much for the conversation.